The screams of the emphatic audience members pierced my eardrums as the world spun in a blur around me. The blue mat below me and the blinding stadium lights above me continuously alternated in my view. A complete rush of emotions was thrust upon me as I was nearing my dismount. Soon all of my senses faded out as my focus slipped into the void. I soon tapped for my final giant swing, and kicked for my dismount. I let go of the bar, and for a moment time seemed to slow down and I felt weightless. I counted my flips in the air, 1, and then 2. As my second flip came to a completion, I landed both feet planted firmly on the chalk-covered mat. I couldn't believe it. I had nailed my dismount, and the audience immediately shared my emotion by vehemently cheering for me. I turned around as my cheering teammates greeted me with high fives and hugs to congratulate me. A wave of relief shrouded me, and I could not comprehend that I had just executed my very first collegiate gymnastics routine. If someone had told me a year ago that I would compete for the men's gymnastics team at Penn State, I would have just stared at them in disbelief. Even as I stood with my brother seconds after my routine, I still couldn't believe it. It was one of the most incredible experiences in my life, and I had just learned a valuable lesson. Exactly a year prior to this event, I was still a competitor in the men's junior Olympic program, and had only dreamed of being on a collegiate gymnastics team. I entered the gym every day with the mindset of putting every bit of my energy into my training, only hoping to achieve my ultimate goal. Unfortunately, tragedy struck and my training came to a halt when I had an operation done on my left elbow. I felt hopeless as my dreams seemed to slip from my fingertips. I wore a sling and the doctors told me I never may practice the same way again. My stomach dropped as I heard these words. What was I gonna do? Months went by before I could even think about practicing again. Melancholy thoughts filled my head, and I felt deprived by not being able to do the sport I am most passionate about. The dreadful part was observing my teammates practicing and developing their skills while I was at a standstill. 3 long months of rehabilitation passed by, and I was finally cleared to practice once again. I had never been so ecstatic and anxious to get back to practicing. Unfortunately, I was now in a tough situation. The season had just begun, and because of my unlucky circumstance, I was out of shape, lacking skills, and significantly behind the rest of my competitors. Everything about my situation pushed me back further and attempted to demotivate me. However, I did not give in. I decided that no matter what the doctors and my conditions insinuated, I was not going to give up now. I pressed forward and was determined to have a successful season and show everyone I was not a force to be reckoned with. I focused all of my energy into my practices and siphoned every bit of motivation and energy in me to conquer this seemingly insurmountable task. Months of rigorous training had passed and finally paid off when I finally attained my peak physical condition and I was ready to compete again. My competition season was a success, and it was now finally time to tackle a much bigger assignment. And after a long summer of drastic development in my training, I decided it was certainly time to contact Penn State coaches. They gave me an opportunity to try out for the last open spot on the team. This was the one opportunity I needed, and I tackled it head on. To my surprise, I was successful in making the team. Months later, during the Penn State versus Temple University competition, I reflected on my journey and genuinely saw all my arduous work pay off. Realizing that I could go beyond my limits to tackle even the most overwhelming tasks severely boosted my confidence in my abilities, and this is something I now apply to my everyday tasks.